Hey there, hope you're doing well. I did another podcast just a few minutes ago, talking about drawing a parallel between poker and life, and I talked about reputation. This is the second one where I'm going to still, just because I played poker recently after a long time, it's still fresh in my mind from a few days ago. I want to capture another learning that comes from poker, at least to me, and hopefully to you as well. And if you're a poker player, this video might resonate with you, much like the last one. If not, feel free to just move on to the next thing that you're doing. So let's take an example. So let's say you're playing Texas Hold'em poker. Let's say there's 8 people or 9 people at the table. You've played a while with the same group of people, so you understand people a little bit more. They're all strangers when you sit down, but not after a few hours. Now, let's say you play your Delta hand. Maybe let's take, I don't know, it doesn't matter, like Ace King suited, and you played a hand. And it doesn't matter whether it's like, the format of poker, the game dramatically makes a difference in the real world when you're playing the game. But just for the purpose of this monologue, let's assume the format doesn't matter. So whether it's a tournament or a cash game, let's say it's the same. It's not, but let's pretend it's the same. You dealt Ace King suited and you're playing a hand, and it turns out a certain way, right? With the same 8 other people on the table, 8 other players. Now, a few minutes go by, you dealt Ace King suited. Nothing changed. You're sitting in the exact same seat 4, for instance. Nobody else has changed seats. We're assuming nobody else got up, nobody left, no new players came in to replace the existing players. So everything is let's assume ceteris paribus conditions. You have Ace King suited. Let's even assume that you are in the same, let's say maybe you're the dealer in the hand, or maybe you're right under the gun. Whatever your position is, not only do you not change seats, but you get dealt a hand in the exact same context. So you're player number 3 from the dealer, or you're the dealer. Exact same thing. That's what I meant by ceteris paribus conditions. Everything else is identical. Now, with that assumption, there's a lot of assumptions there, but with those assumptions, if I asked you, hey, can you play the hand exactly the same way that you did the last time? First question. And if you did, do you expect the exact same outcome as it was the last time? Whether you won or lost the hand doesn't matter. It does matter in the real world, again, for the purpose of this monologue. Can you expect the same thing to happen? Can you expect the same outcome? It's a rhetorical question. It's very simple to answer, right? Absolutely not, because a lot of other things change. Even though the players are the same, your position is the same, the hand is the same, the betting is different. Maybe more people folded the hand. Every single thing could not possibly be the same unless you're doing a replay, right? A lot of things were the same, but some things changed. People, maybe the same person, one of the other players in the hand, perhaps gained more chips or lost more chips, so they play the hand differently, so they end up not playing the hand or playing the hand, which ends up making it different from the previous hand, even though it was exactly identical for the most part. You had the same hand, same position, same players. So I guess you get the drift here. Hopefully I made, I articulated this as well as I'd hoped I would. At least half as well as I'd hoped I would. What I'm trying to say here is, everything, even most things do not change. You're going to have to, react to situations differently, because you're going to have, every time you're dealt a hand, like this, like you're not just literally in poker, but in real, like idiomatically, when you're dealt a hand, you have to play with the hand you're dealt with the best you can, right? So every situation ends up being different, even if they all tend to kind of look similar on the surface. Same casinos, around the same time, same table, same format, same people, same hand, same position. Too many things that are the same. Why would things be dramatically different in terms of the gameplay of that hand or the outcome? But we all know it is, because everything changes. Now let's take that and let's see if I can draw this analogy as well as I'd hoped I would, or at least half as well as I'd hoped I would do. To real life at work. You work at a certain place, you learn certain skills with certain people, and then your project ends or you move on, whatever happens, you go to the next project. You want to take a lot of the learnings, the good, and you want to remember what things that didn't go so well so you can improve upon those. But you can't expect to behave the exact same way. And I mean this because even I was a whole lot younger, when I used to work for Oracle, I worked there for many years and I learned many beautiful things. But not everything applied or transferred gracefully to the next client or the project or the work. Because, that was different. The teams were differently structured. Companies were smaller. They were solving different problems. But I was taught by brilliant people. So I want to take that and apply as is. And it was quite a struggle, to be honest with you, the first few months, because I was like, why should we not be doing it the way I was taught? I had learned something over the years in college, and I unlearned it, relearned it at Oracle. And now I didn't realize that I had to unlearn and relearn at work, which, more gray hairs and years go by, you tend to know that a little bit more. Or if you're smarter than me, you'll learn it even before you get the gray hairs. Uh, Things didn't, how you communicate a problem, how do you solve something, even if the technology stacks were the same. Let's pretend that I worked on the exact same stack. It was Java technologies at the time. And let's pretend that, the overall team size was similar. Even if the companies were differently sized, the team sizes may have been similar. Because even in large companies, the teams are like 5-6 people or something like that, right? At least the core team you're working with most of the time. It did not transfer at all. How I had to communicate it had to change. People thought differently. People executed differently. So it was dramatic, because I was there for many years at Oracle, and it was quite a bit of learning, because I learned from the best minds, and I wanted it to be so universally applicable that I could take it anywhere. But that didn't turn out to be the case. Now I know better. Over the years, I've learned better to know that everywhere you go, anytime you pick up a new project, Snowpal is a product company, but we also do managed services for other clients. So when you pick up a project, even though we work across different stacks, even assuming the stacks are similar, or even if the stacks are different, it doesn't really matter in this case. You have to kind of take the time, the days to learn the team, the people, the culture, the paradigms of that organization before you start, suggesting and recommending things. Because, it's very easy to, let's say we're building user interfaces. I've had this experience over the years, even at Snowpal. We take a lot of time to come up with a page, the colors, the design, the placement, the buttons, the navigation, and whatnot. Somebody joins the team, they're like, day one, day two, they start commenting on, hey, why is the button here? Should it not be there? Why is this navigation this way? Not all the time do they actually do the due diligence to learn why something was done a certain way. Was that a customer ask? Was that a team decision? Was that legacy? How difficult or easy is it to make those changes? How important are those changes? Is that the biggest fish we need to fry? Without going through this, the questions get blurted out saying, hey, you know what, we should make this change. And, again, as you do more of this, you learn that it's very easy to make comments, especially with user interfaces. I mean, it's always easy to make comments, don't get me wrong, but it's even easier, I think, to make comments on user interfaces than on backend systems. When you build APIs, we've seen at least people don't have as many comments. You're talking more infrastructure, scalability, performance, throughput, and a number of those things. But that's after someone realizes a pain point or wants a certain thing, they ask you very specifically to the extent possible. But it's not like a passerby making a comment. But with the user interfaces, I could literally ask anybody who's walking down on the sidewalk outside my house and ask them for feedback, and they would give it. It's just the nature of the beast. I think it's hard to argue. So, but you want to be careful when you join a team as to, make sure you ask yourself whether those comments make meaningful sense, and whether you have established your reputation to the point where you're actually able to share those comments freely for people to take, pause for a moment and give you enough respect to digest those comments. Because if I popped into a project and I started making 25 different comments, it will go very differently than if I'd spent some time contributing to the project, proving my value in the team and the organization, and then making comments. That gives a lot more context. So it's very important to remember, because it's very easy to spot obvious problems and sometimes not so obvious problems, because you've done this a while, you've got this experience, and you have good intent. There's no question about that. But when you communicate that prematurely, that intent may or may not come across just as well as you had originally hoped. So you want to be careful, which is why I took the example of this poker table, because everything else seemingly is the same, but things are different. The execution is going to be different for whatever reasons, because other things changed outside your perimeter, outside your awareness. So the outcome is going to be dictated by that. And in the real world, the macro and microeconomic, the dynamics change all the time. So the problem, if you had solved a particular problem in a particular way in 2023, in 2022, or even early 2023, and you take the exact same problem and you're solving it, in similar ways for a similar client, or for yourself or for your customers, nothing much has seemingly changed from a consumption standpoint, but you're going to do it very differently, right? I would be really surprised if you didn't think AI, you didn't think, OpenAI, you didn't think anything along those lines to see what should I be doing, what I'm doing. Can I be using APIs? Does Snowpal already provide those APIs? If they do, We know they do it well enough, so we should use those APIs. So you don't reinvent the wheel. You're gonna have to approach the problem differently. It's a given. And if it sounds like I'm stating the obvious, I am. But is it always, have I seen people react to the obvious differently? I think so. What I mean by that is, even though some things are very obvious, when somebody else says it out aloud, and I have a loud voice, so it's literally aloud, and loud, if you know what I mean. It actually resonates a bit better with us. At least it's for me, and I hope it maybe it's the same for you, or at least for some of you. So things, approach every problem as though it's unique, even if it's very similar. And when you're changing teams, companies, and even if you're in the same company, same team, you're solving a similar problem 6 months down the road, other things could have changed. The market has changed, the technology has changed, people's mindsets have changed. So, give people credit. Just if somebody says something differently than what they did 6 months ago, don't call out saying, hey, that's not what you said 6 months ago. It's because they said that 6 months ago. Things have changed, so their perspective has changed. Things have evolved. They have learned more things. So even if on the surface things are similar, things are always different, if that makes any sense, and hopefully it does. So there's more learnings that came out of that several hours of playing poker. Some of those learnings hopefully are related to the game directly, so I can apply the next time I'm there. But even if not, a lot of things are applicable to life in general. And I felt like it was a bit more fun to share this with the larger community. Talk to you soon.